Hello everybody, Thy Lord Root here, and welcome back to another episode of Back to Basics. So, it's been a little while, and I'm going to spend most of today clearing out contracts. So, I've actually done two things here. The first is, of course, I want to hit these science, these visual surveys and such, but we also want to do the toroidal aerospike. And I have actually noticed an opportunity that I have not taken advantage of because I was not thinking outside the box. You see, this is the lander which we will be sending, and that lander, as it turns out, is going to also count as both the space station and I guess a base as well, a surface base. So we're going to look for another space station contract. Preferably we want to get 3 of them, but we will see. Oh, because we want to be able to take care of the one around Minmus, of course, but until that point, there's, of course, this aerospike deal to take care of. And that will be fairly easy to do, but we will, of course, need this guy right here. Now, you might ask why I am putting so much of this on here. So much fuel, that is. And it turns out that if we don't have the fuel, then there will be issues. Also, it would be good for us to go to our utilities here and grab some batteries. And, of course, parachutes as well, because we do want to recover this thing. This engine is fairly expensive. And given that fact, I really would not like to lose the, I guess the whole stack. Well, anyway, we'll just launch this. We have to get to 490 meters per second by the time we get to, I guess, the upper bound on this is 11K. So you might have been noticing I have been playing cities more lately. And I really have no intention of really, quitting from KSP by any means. But we do want to get as high up as we can with this, so... And I was going to say at any rate that I got cities on a whim, largely because I saw some other people playing it, and I really do happen to like the game now that I have been playing it. But KSP has not been receiving the attention that I wanted it to have, so I am going to do my best to give it that attention. Now here's the question. Can we get there in time? Yes. Can. That may have been a really stupid idea on my part. Because those parachutes may get cut. In fact, this one already has... Oh no, it hasn't been. Okay, well, we're beginning to fall now. And we should land pretty close to the KSC. We haven't really gone anywhere, even though we did sort of lose control at the last minute. And that means we will probably splash down. Which could be good for us. But on the other hand, that does make the sky a little bit more difficult to recover. We will have to see just what our rate is. That's fair. That is definitely better than we might have expected. So let's let the sky land and we will recover it. In fact, I'm gonna turn on SAS now so that we do not tip over. Okay. So we have that contract completed. We need to find a contract. Preferably rather, two of them. That, if we can find it, will be a space station contract. There is space data from around the moon. That is always good. Science data from around Minmus. Melbourne, I'm not sure if that's worth the trouble. We have this guy here. I don't want to add any more missions, however. I do want to at least get the science because we are in dire need of money. And not only that, but as it turns out, the actual rocket that I've used, you may have noticed, is for the Eris, this new lander, is not it's expendable, and that means that we're going to be losing 40k per launch. We really do depend on this launcher being able to do its thing. Let's see if perhaps we cannot get this other data taken care of. There is our lunar probe that actually, we may be able to recover that, even though there's no parachute on it. We may wish to. Just because of the fact that there is, nothing there. Now, we've got a whole bunch of things we need to do here. We need to do things like collect surface samples and stuff like that. I may try to get that done either this episode or the next, because I really would like to move on. And grinding for cash is just not fun. And that's the deal about hard mode, of course, is that you can grind for cash if you want to. Let's see. We have that, and the toroidal air spike. I mean, we could do all of those contracts for science, for the, space science, and not launch anything, and that would be very boring, I reckon. Let's see if maybe we can't get one, or, it's not gonna be worth it, I don't think. Science data from around the moon. Yeah. Let's see, can we do any better than that? Might as well take it. But yeah, we're going to launch the Kerbin orbital station first. Well, not the Kerbin orbital station. This will be a small, station for us. Small. Oh, what is it I'm trying to say? This will be temporarily a Kerbin station. And that's kind of the idea behind it. But really, what I meant to say is that we want to do the, Minmus instance of this first, and that will be primarily on the top of our list here, and then we'll send out this Charlie vessel that I won't show the launch for. It's on top of Bigger Joe. So there's really no need. Our phase angle is almost where it needs to be, though. In fact, I'm thinking we might as well launch now. So, yeah, we'll launch. And this should not be hard at all. There's a version of this, because I originally designed it for Minmus, or not Minmus, Duna, as well. I mean, it can go to Minmus, and this one will go to Minmus as a result. But it's not just Minmus that it'll go to. As you can see, it's completely unmanned. And we will be able to take this guy over to Duna at some point, I think. The idea is, this thing has over 6.5K of delta V, and I do really need to slow down just a little bit. And that's, a fairly good thing. That means that we don't have to refuel every time we bring this guy up. We're going a shade fast. So I'm going to begin my pitch program here. And let's jettison those boosters. Anyway, at first I was going to put parachutes on there regardless, because I was thinking, well, technology will change, and we may want to recover this thing. But I actually think that that's a worse idea, because of the fact that, we're going to be able to maintain that, yeah, we can maintain that. So the reason that's a worse idea is simply because of the fact that we do not really have, you know, like, this thing is expensive to launch. And I'm actually getting quite a few advances and cheating the contract system in order to do it. Now, I don't mind cheating the contract system at all, because this is hard mode and there's that phrase, necessity is the mother of invention. And so this encourages us to think a little bit more about the kinds of contracts we're going to be doing. Ooh, okay, yeah, we need to bring that up pronto. I descended a little bit too deeply into the atmosphere. Not the best launch profile I think I've ever had. Now, unfortunately, that does mean we will burn off a lot of fuel in order to make this guy happen here. I would like to slow the rate at which our abscess is rising at this point. I mean, we do have plenty of Delta V, though. And it is very important that when we make this launch happen, that we do leave some Delta V behind. I mean, we can refuel, sure. But, you know, we really do want to just get this guy onto the surface of Minmus. We are, in reality, quite close. Our apoapsis is a little high, though. This here is one of the longer burns, so I don't want to overdo it. Well, I think that'll be just fine. And that's 43 meters per second to Delta V, which is practically nothing. Are we out of the atmosphere yet? No, we aren't, but probably would be a good idea to extend solar panels. Because we will be soon, and we will be in a fairly shallow orbit as a result. So I'm going to burn around 6 seconds in. And then we will probably launch ITS Charlie. And then the Mooner lander. Let's give ourselves just a little bit of time so we do not overshoot. And this thing is surprisingly responsive. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that there is that one reaction wheel in the crew cabin. Anyway, let's make this burn happen. Anyway, you can see what I did to address the parachute issue because it makes very little sense for us to have the parachutes. At least in this case. Oh, we overburned a little bit. But we should be technically a space station now. Oh, we don't have the research lab. Well, that is no fun. We will have to... fortunately I did make something else for this that we can launch. But I do want to get this guy on its way. This will also be good for training a ton of Kerbals as well. Which we might wish to do before the patch. Let's see, how close are we? We might want to focus on Minmus real quick to see if maybe we can adjust this to the... Because with Minmus sometimes it's hard to tell. That is 833 kilometers. We wanted a little bit higher up than that because we're going to rendezvous with the station. 107 looks good to me. And so I'll bet you if, go down here now. This is going to be a 4-minute burn, which I will spare you from. But I will get the temporary space station launched as well, using our new stack. And this one is completely recoverable. We'll also get ourselves a new cadre of astronauts because we will be needing some. Ooh. Okay. Well, we'll see you here in a bit. Okay, we are back, and we are currently on our way to Minmus. However, we did not get the contract for the space station because there needs to be a research station attached to it, which we did not factor in, unfortunately. And if we look at our contracts, we really do not have any way, unless we happen to get a contract for the moon. We have science data from around Kerbin, which we could do, but I'd rather not. And the science data from around the moon is much more attractive because we can always do something about that. Although, I guess, with what we're about to do, science data from around Kerbin isn't all that bad of a thing to do. So what I've done is I've designed a sort of temporary vehicle that can hold 18 Kerbals in total. Let's see if I can find it here. The margins are pretty tight. And I believe we may possibly want a little bit more in the way of Delta V here. Unfortunately, it just happens to be the case that, I mean, we can go with this guy here. That may extend our Delta V some. But, yeah, it's maybe not the best thing. It's certainly not what I'd envisioned. But the amount of Delta V, as we get up to speed, will be enough for us to get into orbit and then get back down. At least that is the plan. And so, what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to attach this guy. That'll give us the necessary thrust to get off the ground, and then in addition to that, I'm going to put some separatrons on like this. Now, with so many Kerbals, it is good for us to be able to take the sky. In fact, I'm going to move it down here a little bit, but we want to be able to take the sky, bring up as many Kerbals as we can, because the Kerbals violate physics in an interesting way. They, oh, let's not do that. Let's grab the Sepratron. As it turns out, Kerbals have this interesting property where they don't have mass if they're not outside the, if they're inside of a capsule. So, I'm gonna do something very, very risky as a result. I'm gonna hire all these guys here. And that should allow us to launch. So where's the temp station? I guess it would be good to put launch clamps on it as well. This is not the easiest way to get these guys into space at all. But really it has to be done this way for now. And with the slight advantage that we get in Delta V, that will... Well, I don't think we'll have to put more parachutes on. But I'm taking a huge risk. This is, oh no, don't load it. This may not work. So I'm going to use this to toggle our jet engine here. And we'll need to keep special track of that. And then we'll just take everybody and throw them on in. We still have 6 more spots left. With this new class of astronauts will be very useful to us. Because I believe we have everything we need. We may need communications. Possibly, but let's take a look. I'm gonna spool these engines up real... Well, actually there's no point in doing that. We've got plenty of lift. So, let's go. And let's keep a good eye on our intake error. This will help us get up to speed easily. I think the hardest part of this will not be getting it up, although margins are kinda tight for that. Getting it down will be the more difficult part, just because of its sheer mass. We are slowing down just a little bit. But we've not run out of intake air yet. And as long as we can stay in orbit here. And that will be okay. I'm going to start our pitch program a little bit early because we want to be able to maintain and take air for as long as possible. I think when we get down to about... Uh-oh, one of them's beginning to shut off already. Now, I believe we can get into orbit like this. But we will have to be very careful about the way we approach this. Just make this slight correction to our inclination here. Uh-oh. Time to apoapsis is falling. Rather quickly, too. Well, can we do it? We do have plenty of Delta V left, so that one worry of mine was unfounded. However, the orbit is decaying a little bit more quickly than I want it to. We did overfuel this thing very slightly. So yeah, let's get up into the 6K region and get this station into orbit. Because we do have tons of orbital training to do. Let's see. That should be sufficient. Now, if we're lucky, and boy, I do hope we're lucky, we'll come back with several level 1 Kerbals and a new spot for a contract. And that'll, that'll be that. That is acceptable for now. Let's just wait for that contract to complete. How much do we get for it anyhow? Not much, unfortunately. I'm actually here. I'm going to aim to land fairly quickly. See if this proof of concept works. We may need our engines for this. For this landing. We'll just have to see. Okay. Went a little bit overboard there. $33 is not quite what I want to come in at. I'm gonna come in at probably closer to 37, I think. Though given the mass, it may be a little bit high. And we'll see if this thing in fact comes down in one piece. There are a lot of Kerbals' lives on the line, I will tell you that. But given the amount of Delta V we have, I think it'll be okay if we do come in just a little shallow. Because as we know, landing in the water tends to be bad. And honestly, I don't mind if this thing is a little off. Given that we have this main cell, I think everything should be fine. We may need to turn down the nozzle velocity some, or rather the engine throttle. But I mean, we're doing okay. And we've come over we've come over pretty high over the shore, I think. Not too terribly high though, we're about on target, and we'll see shock heating pretty soon. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to go into the ocean if I do not take corrective action. Okay. I'm hoping that with this buffer here, that we'll be okay and that we will not. Oh, we could still. You know what, it's time to deploy the chutes. We'll do that. The hopes that maybe we will slow down enough. That's about as much as I'm willing to do here, as our horizontal velocity is getting a bit high. But it may be just the thing. So, yeah, this has been fairly successful. I wouldn't launch it all the time, of course. It would be nice if we had better engines for this, ones that would allow us to take better advantage of our surroundings. rapiers for sure are the ones that I think that we should endeavor to have. Okay. We get to about 100 or so meters, or even less than that, I will brake with these engines. As, that is going to be fairly important. There we go. Well, perhaps we at least got science from it. Good usable science, I hope. We have enough at least to where we could deal with it. These guys are all level 1 now. Which frankly is fantastic. Now let's see if we can get the proper mission here. There's no seismic surveys that we want to do. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to do some contract grinding off camera. Not before, really not before, I get ITS Charlie launched. Because ITS Charlie is something that we need. And the idea behind ITS Charlie is that this is going to bring, like half an orange tank of fuel up to the station. That's what we want, really. I've done extensive testing on it. Oh, modular girder segment. What is going on there? I guess I had not unlocked that. Well, there we go. I believe that we can get this up. I will attempt to get another station contract, in the hopes that maybe we can pay off this other Eris launcher. So we will see you then, and I will be right back. Okay, so we are now back, and we happen to have the second Eris headed towards the moon on a regular moon contract. I found one that was very tempting that required 9 Kerbals, and I was thinking, okay, well maybe if we dock this to the current station we'll be able to fulfill that. But as it turns out, that's not the case, so we're going to have to more or less take it as it is. Charlie is docking in several hours as well, and the idea is we're going to take care of Charlie and then dock this guy shortly thereafter. But I did pick up a contract that is relatively easy money, and that contract happens to be, let me see if I can find it, this guy here. Now, of course, all we really need to be able to do here is to test this in this trajectory. And I'm thinking that should not be too hard to do. And while it's not worth a huge amount of money, it is worth a fair amount of science. So let's just do that. If we can find ourselves some batteries, all the better. And I think getting out of the atmosphere should not be too difficult for us. See how much delta V we get here. Could probably do better with the longer tank. We'll just throw this down here. I think that should be more than plenty for us to get out. Let's not overdo it on these structural pylons, though. And, of course, we'll have things like landing legs here. We can deploy as well. We'll lock everything up here. Oh, let's not do that. Let's lock, and lock. And then finally parachutes as well. So the name of the game is that we are going to be deploying these structural pylons fairly high up. We did not get into orbit at all. We just have to reach our height here, which is going to be, I think, 71 to 80. Let's give it a go. Maybe throttle back here so that we do not exceed terminal velocity. Which we're doing a very good job of right now. I think we should be able to get into this trajectory no problem. But yeah, these guys, if it weren't for the science, I wouldn't do it. With that having been said, we do happen to have a fair amount of science that we can do with this. And really, it's a question of what do we want to unlock next. So, moving forward, I think we'll just run this guy up at half throttle here. Once we get above 13K, I will increase the throttle to full. And hopefully that will be okay. once we're out of this zone here, I think we will be scot-free. What is our... Oh, it does not look like we're going to reach at all. Well, let me pause the video here and recover it, and we will try again. So, I will be right back. Okay, the last one did not go so well. Maybe this time we will be successful. I put a ton of fuel on this, and perhaps it can even get toward it. It's sort of sitting on that threshold. Whatever the case is, we do want to make sure that we are able to touch this as soon as possible. Because we want to take care of, first of all, the Eris-class spaceship that's heading on its way to the moon. But then we also want to dock Charlie as well. And there's going to be a tight window for that. I'm anticipating the possibility that it may not be all that easy to do. So getting the suborbital flight, I'm just going to leave the engine going, I think. Because even though we're at half fuel, we actually have twice the amount of fuel we used to. If it were not for the fact that the drag were so great, then, it would, maybe be more of a problem than it is right now. Well, let's cut it off at 100. The drag is going to continue to bring us down. And we are about to be in our zone here. 71, I believe it is, up to 80 something. We do have two of these guys on here, so I can see. There we go. Hopefully, we will begin to fall. It turns out, too, that the recovery on that other unit was a no-go, simply because of the fact that the base wasn't wide enough. And so, it had a tendency to tip over. I think we're good for chute deployment, though. Might as well bring down our landing gear, too. And there's, of course, debris from our failed attempt, which I should probably endeavor to recover. But there we go, we are now landing. And we are moving in at 5.3 meters per second or so. Hopefully my impatience will not get the best of me here. I think I've recovered almost everything that made the other spacecraft expensive. And we did get money from this. which is exceedingly good news. But let's just see what we got back. With 396 science, and every single dime, I guess, aside from maybe the fuel back. If we look at our contracts, there may be something interesting. Oh, this guy too, by the way. I'm going to take it just because of its simplicity. Even though we have not done a contract in a while for this sort of thing. But I'm not going to complete that in this episode. But make it something we do in the next one. Because now we have to focus on getting the Eris into its proper place. You know, speaking of which, you can see that the time on our Eve satellite is coming down quite a bit. And that is definitely quite good for us. You can see here, we still have a fair amount of lead time. We'll just delete on close. We'll see if maybe we can increase this. Just a little bit. Yeah, if we burn out like that, we will in fact give ourselves plenty of time to meet up with Charlie. And given that it's out here, you know, we might as well do it now. That bought us a few more minutes, which, given our situation, I think is definitely something that we may consider. And now we at least want to wrangle this guy in. And might as well get this guy to dock with the station here. You know, we're a little bit inclined. And the proximity of our descending node does mean that we can throw in an inclination change. Not a huge one, mind you. We have 110 versus 114, which can tweak this a little bit. So 110 versus 114. 112 versus 111, that's even better. $112 versus $112. Let's add that now. And my, this thing is acting up today. Says it needs about 58 seconds, so we'll have to remember when we come back. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and align this right now to its proper position, just in case we run out of time on this. And let's switch back to Charlie. We'll go ahead and begin by decoupling. And of course, we have the one issue that these engines tend to have, which is that the fairings do sort of cause issues before they get consumed by the garbage collector. Now for a 9.8 meter or 9.7 meter per second burn, this actually isn't too terribly bad. The main thing is that we want to make sure that whatever it is we do, when we make this burn, that that we're going to be in the proper place at the proper time. I could have more easily done this if I had just gone ahead and done the docking, but I think we need a proof of concept that this thing can dock. So that's what I'm going to do with it. And that is a 3-second burn we've got there. Still 34 minutes to go on the docking. So we'll just do this very, very aggressively. And go. Let's see how close we are. I think we were perhaps a little bit too late. But that'll be okay for now. Oh, and we missed quite substantially. But we can fix that. We just have to turn the other way. have probably just entered physics range at this point. Looks like it to me. And we've got 14 minutes to dock. At least it's on the day side. So, we'll go for the most convenient one here. The one that is fairly close in. I'm sure that the guys at NASA are glad that they can control more than one vehicle at once. So, yeah. We're pretty close in. As long as we can get this docked within the next couple of minutes, we should be fine, I think. Certainly, this would take a lot longer, I think, without the docking mod, because it's just a matter of us lining up. And, meeting up with the target. Trying to do this with the, prograde marker on the nav ball is certainly a more difficult task. I'm going to increase speed here just a little bit. So far this has turned out to be quite an easy docking, despite the fact that we did miss our target initially because I was not paying attention. So we'll come on in. We'll go up to 0.5 meters per second, so we can deal with this a little bit more easily, I think, too. Actually, it may be good for us to slow down just a wee bit so we do not collide with it too quickly. And there we go. We are docked. We will deliver the sweet, sweet fuel. And then we will probably undock it in the next episode. Given the efficiency of this guy, it certainly is quite nice for us to do this. Let's go now and focus on Eris. The Lunar Eris, that is. Now, we had said this was, what, 58 seconds or so? So we can burn right at 29. And not a second later, because that can be a bit of a problem. Although I suppose Kerbin alarm clock will keep us from burning too far off target. Okay, 29 seconds. Now I have simulated this on the moon, and the only trouble that it has on the moon is its thrust to weight ratio rather is not terribly high. I mean, it's okay. It's some maybe I think it's a thrust to weight ratio of 2 or so. It says here 6. But I have been having just a little bit of trouble getting this to slow down. Okay, very good. That is about where we want it to be. And our relative inclination with the space station is pretty high. It's certainly something that we could do more easily. No, we do not want to rotate. We want to increase our deal here, our inclination, and then we should be able to meet up with this guy. Soon, I hope. Let's see if maybe here is a good place. Here is not a good place. So we'll have to make a couple of orbits. But that'll be a good start. We can make this inclination adjustment here. And then once we fix our inclination, we just have to get into the proper orbits here. In fact, I'm just going to do inclination like this. Relative inclination is good. Let's now check and see if this guy is still where it needs to be, and then maybe warp to it. We made pretty good headway with Eris, I do have to say, with the other Eris. If we could just maybe get this thing spot on, I'll be happy. We might even be able to do some other things as well. Looks like 2.7 kilometers is going to be about as good as we can get for now. So let's just point ourselves retrograde. Relative to the target, that is. How close are we? We are still pretty far out. Okay. Well, we're within physics range now. Should be anyhow. I think we could get ourselves a little bit closer. There we go. Well, still 0.4 kilometers. close are we now? We are on a collision course with the station. Maybe just a little bit slower would be nice. So there's definitely a good possibility that the stocking will be simple, we hope at least. And I think we did get our orbital station contract. Which means good things for us. It means we have a leg up. We will just get ourselves a little bit closer before we entertain this notion of docking. Yeah, one moment. Yeah, can we get this guy pointed in the right direction? So I think there we go. That looks to be about proper. Probably want to back off a bit. So we do not collide with the station. As we are about to do now. And maybe that was a little bit too aggressive. But we're pretty close now. Keep this thing aligned. And there we have it. So I think we're going to take care of all the contracts next time. But until then, this has been Thy Lord Root, and I will see you later.